Alright, so I got the bumper off. Got my intercooler. What I'm next going to do is I'm going to probably remove this bracket and then maybe this guy here on both sides. I think, how do you attach? I think they're just clips. Yes, they are. So there's just like little clips on the side that you can just push in. I have to do that with two hands, but let me get that done. This side. So there's just a clip up here by the headlight. Here. Allows you to just pull it on. Next, I'm going to remove this bracket, which looks like a 7mm. Basically, all you need is a 7mm and just a torque, a torque set. Alright, to save time, I tried a bunch of things to try and get the driver's side undone, and I found a method that seems to work. So, there is this tab here. It'll be slotted up here, and what I found out that I could do is I took a flat blade and a pry bar, pushed up against this, pushed down on this tab, and of course have the coupler undone, and then pushed and pried down backwards, so towards the car, and that was able to get that done. And then over here, same thing. That is this nasty intercooler ball. By the way, on these intercoolers, there's just a C-clamp thing, retainer clip, and that's basically what holds every single one of these on. that's removed. So there's the stock intercooler. Now, it's time to figure out bracketry. Alright, so now that I have that off, just took a short breather. So I have here a 2.25 inch to 2.5 inch 90 degree coupler. Just now, everything will be linked in the description below. Not paid or anything, just helping out. Then here I've got a large 90 degree, larger than any of those over there. Then I've got a 1.75. I'll correct this if I remember this wrong, but to 2.5 inch coupler. This is going to go on the turbo. And then I've got the matching clamp for that, same was there. Then I've just got a universal 2.5 inch black intercooler piping kit here. So now I'm going to spend the time to piece this together to figure out how I can replicate that. So I started with that because I already know that that's going to be like that. So next, I need to work my way down, and I'll basically explain every single piece because it's going to be quite a while to piece it all together. But let me start piecing this together, and then I'll make an exact list of everything used in order and how I attached it. Alright, so I've spent a good bit. So I've got some mocked up. I might be changing some of this. Not sure yet, but I do need to now do the intercooler mount to the bumper. So how I was going to do this is I was going to mock that intercooler up, take my flat stock aluminum bars, mark them out where I need to bend, and go from there. But so far, I've got my 1.75 inch to 2.5 inch coupler adapter to a small 90 degree, like this, down to a, let's see, can we get it, a straight coupler, down to another small 90 degree, down to another straight coupler to a straight pipe. Now I've got my 2.25 inch coupler to my large, like large 90 degree. This was not in the kit I bought. I bought this separately because it looked nicer. Down to a straight coupler, down to a large kit 90, down to another straight coupler, down to another large 90, down to a large 90 coupler to a straight, and I've got it here. So now I need to figure out where I need to cut these pipes. Then once I figure out where I need to cut them, I'll roll another bead on them, and then probably be using these 90 degree large couplers. In the kit, it includes more than enough pipes to do it, but let me try and figure out where I'm going to be mounting the intercooler. One thing I need to keep in mind is bumper clearance. I think my goal is to try and have the bracket bend up and around like so, maybe, and bend it so it like attaches like that. Basically make them like giant U shape. But first I need to figure out where's center, which is right here, and then line it up and go from there. So let me go do that. Alright, so I've got one bent. Basically how I'm bending these is I just put this in the vise, heat it up with a torch, and then I freehand it just by marking where I need to bend it, and makes these 90 degrees. I'm probably going to change this just a tiny bit, but let me copy that onto this one. They're just about lined up. Well, that one is, but we'll see how well I can freehand this one too to match. Alright, so I've got two brackets made. They're not exact, but I'm going to tweak them a bit once I install them. But basically I used my MAP gas torch, heated it up, used two pairs of vice grips or pliers, and just held it and bent it into the shape I wanted. This isn't too important, just once I get everything lined up, that's when I'm going to want it to be exact, but for now, these are good enough. Then I can make some final adjustments once I do that. This is basically where I want this. It's gonna be, I'm gonna probably have this sag a little bit, but I pretty much want it there. So let me get the hole drilled out of this. All I'm using is a drill adapter and my drill bit to drill the hole. Again, this doesn't need to be precise or anything, it's just a mounting bracket. I'm going to make the holes a little bit larger so I can move it a bit, and then I'll go from there. So let me do that. So as you can see, got my hardware there. I got this all lined up just about where I want it. I am going to mock up the bumper real quick just to see how it'll fit. Let's get a close-up at this. So we're going to put it like right up here at the top on both sides. I might not even need to like do many adjustments, like it's pretty much already there where I want it. This will be fine even though it's a little bit crooked, because we'll be using a flexible coupler, so that'll be good. So what I'll do next is mark out where I want to drill and what we're going to install. There's these really cool things called rib nuts. So I'm using M8 hardware. Appears that my 29/64 bit that I use for the map sensor is just about perfect for M8, so that's really cool. So what I'll do is I'll put the rib nuts up here, and I'll be careful because there is a harness here, but this is a nice place to put it because there is a nice open space there. So let me mark out where I want to put those and then start drilling, being careful of the harness not to hit it. Alright, so I finally got these rib nuts in. I've got the intercooler now supported under its own weight. Something I just learned: get some really high quality drill bits. You'll have a lot of broken drill bits if you don't get high quality ones. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this the straight tubes, measure them, and see where I need to cut. So I'll do that next. Alright, so I pushed all the couplers in all the way. I've taken something to mark the straight tube where I'm going to cut. Did that on both sides. So let me pulse those out and then we'll go cut them. Alright, so This is what you want to build. This is what you want to build for the longest run over here. So it goes like, then you got this. So you're going to build this. so this side's all assembled. So I've got that 2.25 to 2.5 large 90 that I bought separately. It's larger than those 90s. Straight coupler, big 90. Another straight coupler below there. Another 90. Going to a 90 coupler, going to a straight pipe that I cut, and to another 90 coupler that I cut shorter. As you guys saw in the other video, this is the map sensor. I'm going to plug that in now. Click. So now to knock out this side. Alright, so I got this side on. I cut down this 90 coupler, that straight pipe, and it's to a small 90, to another straight coupler, to another small 90, to the 1.75 to 2.5 inch adapter coupler. So next, what I'll go do is I'll go for a test drive. Alright, so this is just a recap slash ending. So I've got the front bumper back on. Got the engine cover back on. I was able to actually fit this. I was struggling to get it to line up. And I ended up moving this clamp down just a tiny bit so I could clip it down to the engine. But as you can see, I've got the intercooler on. So a few things to note. I did have to adjust my wastegate about 2-3 turns inwards, so tighter, because there's now more volume that it has to fill, so it's less restricted. So you're going to need to have more tension on the wastegate, otherwise you will have less boost than desired. Not hard to do. You just check out one of the other videos on adjusting your wastegate actuator. I have a BNR one on this car, so pretty simple. But so far the intercooler does seem to be working, and it's actually working pretty well. I need to do more testing and more basically comparisons to old logs, but it looks like the IAT2, which is that sensor there in the intake manifold, that is basically your temperature of the air that's going into the engine. That's your map sensor, well, your other map sensor. You've got a map sensor in the intake manifold, but IAT1 is your MAF sensor. So you want your IAT2 to match your IAT1. That way you know that it's being efficient and the air is getting cooled down. So after some test drives, the IAT2 seems to be about the same as IAT1 on my car, which is better than stock so far. You want to have your IAT2 as low as possible. You get more power that way. As for basically intercooler working, yes, it does. Now onto the topic of some things that I did have to change after I installed everything. So one issue I had is the coupler that I have down there kept popping off of the turbo outlet, and so I kept on popping that off. So what I ended up doing is making some adjustments, and I ended up using the silencer bit there. The outlet is matching to the outlet of the turbo, so it's not that big of a restriction in my opinion. But I may revisit this at a later date when I have more time and feel like if I need to actually do it or not. But that piece there, it just basically comes off the stock intercooler piping from the turbo, and it has a worm gear, worm gear hose clamp. I reused the stainless clamp that I bought separately and reused that same 1.75 inch to 2.5 inch coupler there. And then I have that small 90 down to a straight coupler, down to another small 90, and then that leads to the straight piping to the intercooler. And then on this side I've got, you can actually kind of see it, got that straight piece that goes to that 90-degree coupler, to that 90, large 90 that came in the kit, to a straight coupler, large 90, straight coupler, extra large 90 to the 90 degree 2.5 inch coupler to 2.25 inch coupler. Coupler. As for the bumper, some things I did have to do. I removed the foam bar that goes on the inside of this plate, or this grill piece here, because it went up against these mounts that I did. And then another thing to note is I did not put the guard back on. So it is just open on the bottom. Not a big deal. Just have to be extra careful. But so far I've not had any issues. The car is on coilovers, so it is a little bit, well, it's kind of maxed out on height right now because of the tires I run in the summer. But as for this, I've not had any scrape issues so far, so it may vary from person to person depending on how you set up your suspension. But I was able to basically get the bumper on with no issues, and everything still lines up pretty good. It does fit a little bit tight in there, but even still, the intercooler does seem to be working extremely well. And because I've got all this nice open air for it, it seems to be working quite well. Like, I just was driving this and the cold side of the intercooler is cold to the touch, and the hot side is warm to the touch, but it's also pretty cold right now. It's about in the 40s degrees right now, give or take. But that just about wraps it up. The intercooler install wasn't as bad. You do need quite a bit of time to do it. It's going to take some trial and error, but I spent $310 on this setup. This is like one of the cheapest setups you can do, essentially. And it just works, and it works really well. The Rev 9 intercooler, great choice for this. I notice next to no lag, which is great. You don't want to spec your intercooler too large, otherwise you'll experience extra lag and have issues. But you don't want to spec it too low, then you don't get enough cooling effect from it. But overall, I think this came out better than I expected.